One UI 8.5 beta was released just a few days ago, and it's been pretty nice. And this episode, I want to go ahead and help you decide which is going to be better for you going into 2026, One UI 8.5 or iOS 26. Let's go ahead and find that out in this video. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and I do want to let you know that we are running the One UI 8.5 beta 1, and it's already pretty stable, pretty smooth, and enjoyable to use. iOS is on iOS 26.2 at this point, so it's a bit better than the original launch version that came on the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. But what does better actually mean on the day-to-day? It's pretty subjective, but I'm going to talk about the features that matter to me, and that's going to be speed, reliability, and the comfort of using each software in day-to-day life. So let's go ahead and begin with home screen customization. So with the Samsung out of the box, you already do get yourself quite a bit of home screen customization, including the ability to set different home pages to whichever you like up there in the left corner. You do have yourself plenty of theming options to really theme out the device. A lot more than you would do on an iPhone over there. Especially, you can get even granular with icons and always on displays. And this is already, it was available on previous versions, but we're just trying to find out which software is going to be overall the better look for us. So with the new One UI 8.5 though, you do get these nicer icons, and they definitely look like little stickers on display. They're so sharp. But the only thing is that not all of them are going to be quite as strong as the Samsung ones, so the ones that come from the App Store, but generally it's not that noticeable. They all tend to look rather nice. But back on the topic of the home screen customization, you do have quite a bit of nice wallpapers. You can change lock screen styles pretty nicely as well, different color palettes. When you do go ahead and put your own color palettes though and apply them to the icons though, let's go ahead and apply them here. We'll go ahead and back out. I was getting a little bit of rainbowing on my screen. We swipe out of here. You'll see not all of the icons do turn that color though. That's one thing I don't like about Android phones, and even this one right here, the Galaxy series, is that when I put the icons in this color, not all the third-party icons, so it just doesn't look consistent to me. So I tend to not use that feature, but you can go ahead and use it if you'd like. Now, that's pretty much what you need to know. You can move icons wherever you want on display. They do have a breadth of widgets, plenty of widgets, and they do have a little bit of an updated look here in One UI 8.5, but generally tons of customization, tons of availability of different size widgets. And I think the customization aspect even gets further enhanced within Play Store. This can go for pretty much any Android phone with the multitude of launchers that are available on here. But I do like the number row on the Samsung keyboard. I do want to mention that. Let's go ahead and hit launchers, and you'll see you can just go ahead and go to town here as it is based on the Android software. When it comes to iOS 26 though, I do like the polished look to it. I think everything is very consistent, and I do like when I edit and I customize here that if I hit clear icons, everything is clear, like the whole thing. So I think that looks nicer when it comes to customizing the icons. Now the icons themselves, you decide what you prefer. I tend to like the look of the iOS icons a little bit more. I just think they look a little bit nicer. But Samsung is definitely stepping that area up. But see, when we tint icons here in iOS, everything turns the same color. So that is more consistent. So I want on customization for the home screen, Samsung to do that in the future. But when it comes to actually placing icons in different locations, you can do an iOS 26, put them wherever you want. We've been able to do that for a while. So that's pretty nice. But also when you go ahead and hit edit up here, hold on, missed that click, hit add widgets. You have plenty of widgets, and they also, you can see even the icons when you change things here, they also kind of like turn that color here in widgets as well. So everything seeming to stay pretty consistent here overall. But other than that, the thing about iOS is it still has that core look that, you know, even if you change the color and scheme and all that, you still kind of have the same look as most people. I feel like you can really get your icons and your whole look of your Samsung phone to look totally unique to you versus this phone. You can go ahead and make the icons super large on iOS as well. There is an ability to do that as well on here. It's just not quite as easy. I think it's really easy on the iPhone to do this, which is funny because before you would have to go into settings to increase the display size, but now you just hit edit, customize, and go right there. So pretty good customization on iOS 26 for just regular users. But the reality is One UI 8.5 is going to be better overall when it comes to customization. Now, when it comes to animations and smoothness, the Samsung actually, to me, looks nicer. I mean, even this brightness slider has a nice little animation when you go through there. When you pull down, things look very smooth, and they're kind of like smooth and fast. The animations are very smooth when coming out. You can see non-linear, and everything is just, it's pretty great here on the Samsung devices now versus before. So I'm very happy here, and they tend to do a really good job at holding applications, especially on these 12 gigabyte of RAM models. It's a very nice suite of features for day-to-day that have 12 gigs of RAM and One UI 8.5. Generally, the going into different areas of the software, you'll see now in One UI 8.5 they have these like little different icons. It used to be like all the way across here. Now it's kind of like there. Kind of matches up with that now bar on the lock screen. But generally, I just like the way the animations look on One UI 8.5. I like how smooth things tend to perform. You can see even bringing that down, everything looks pretty smooth. And it's snappy, it's fast. Now on iOS, I actually find it to feel visually a little bit slower. So when you kind of click open a folder or you launch into the home screen, it definitely just has like this slower feel to launching things. Especially, I think Apple does this intentionally to give you like this smoother look. But what I notice is that when I'm using this day to day, if I'm flying through things, my brain is almost interpreting that as lag, just because how fast I got used to like One UI over there with that. Even here, as we come down, you're going to find more of an emphasis on the UI, like kind of like bouncing into this and kind of giving you this nice effect look here, where it just kind of like, see how it bounces there? It's like it's trying to please you before you get to what you're doing. Some people love it, some people prefer speed. But when you're being productive and you're flying through the day, I like fast like that. So it really does come down to what you prefer when it comes to, you know, the smoothness, the animations, things of that sort. But iOS has really nice looking like flyouts when you go like that, or when we go ahead and open applications. Let's go ahead and open a few. We already opened that app. Let's go to calendar and we'll swipe out of there. You can see right there when kind of going through here. One thing I do like is when I'm sitting down being cozy with the phone, using things, you know what I mean, going through at the end of your day, clicking off your to-do list, you know, just kind of like swiping through a few things, replying to some messages. Visually, it tends to feel pleasing. But when you're having one of those productive fast days, the Samsung is the way to go. Not only that, you can pop view different applications, even on this smaller S25. So we go over here and you can have little pop views. You can get productive on here, and you can also use Samsung Dex on here with a monitor, kind of making a little computer in your pocket essentially. So let me know your thoughts on what you find better when it comes to the consistency, the frame rates, and stuff of that sort. I also find that the app crashes tend to occur less on the Samsung One UI. It's probably more Android, but there is one con. I do get some more blinking on some relaunches of applications. So if you do want to like it just did it right there. Like it does blink sometimes. I think it's more of an Android problem. It's probably not a Samsung problem, but generally I don't really see that on the iPhone. When it comes to app reliability and crashes, they tend to be pretty strong. But I've actually had some weird things happen more on iPhone, like when I click the camera control button. Rarely it does. Kind of like it restarted the phone before, and also like the applications will sometimes glitch out. And I've actually had the Apple logo appear and the phone kind of like do this little spinning loading bar and just like restart randomly. So I've actually had that occur more on the iPhone. It's also rare, but it almost never happened on the Samsung. So that could probably speak to maybe Samsung increasing their stability over some previous editions of the One UI software. Even on this beta, it's seeming to run pretty smooth. I don't see anything that's like crashing up or lagging up too hard. So that's a pretty good first beta for this Samsung Galaxy S25 over here. The way they place notifications are kind of similar. I don't got any right now, but you'll pull to the left, they'll get notifications. Samsung seems to like lay them out a little bit more clean. You'll have like more of a list of notifications. On the iPhone, it's a bigger bubble, so it kind of like takes up more space. You kind of got to scroll a little bit more. And of course, with Android, you will get your little notifications up there that tell you have a notification, but without having to actually pull down over there. So I still think Android is doing really, really strong in that department. Both do have the ability to reply directly from the notification, so they both do strong there. Now, when it comes to battery numbers, I can't really give you a full take on battery on a beta. It's been pretty similar though to previously before the beta. It hasn't been really crushing the battery too much. But battery really comes down to the size of the battery and the direct phone comparison that we are doing. Between these, the 17 Pro tends to have better battery. But I find in general that iOS tends to be a little bit more efficient with battery life. Finding phones like the iPhone 17, 17 Pro, Pro Max. Even if you look at the Edge versus the Air, I find the Air to do better on battery life than the Samsung Edge, even though that phone has technically a larger battery. So I find iOS a little bit more efficient going into 2026 with battery life. With Samsung being worse on standby time as well, significantly worse actually. Standby time is much stronger, I find, on iPhone. But where the Samsung shines and the iPhone doesn't is I think when you're really pushing the phone a little bit hard, the battery holds on pretty good on the Samsung when you're actually like running GPS, you're running games, you're playing, you're actually using the phone. Whereas the iPhone, when you start using it, it tends to drain a little bit faster now with like. So both of them, not the best. Silicon carbon battery phones are better to me, but iOS, One UI 8.5, both pretty efficient, but Samsung's catching up, but I think iOS is still more efficient, just generally for day-to-day tasks. Now, there's no comparison when it comes to the split screen multitasking. I mean, you don't even have it on iOS, so One UI 8.5 is all day going to win. You can even hit favorites and create app pairs to the app's edge panel. So if I bring these over here, we now have app edge panels, and this is not like it's a new feature, but I do want to talk about, we're talking about iOS versus One UI, and honestly, it's just a much better experience if you want to go ahead and multitask and split screen. You just can't do it. It's a one app at a time affair over there on the right. But one of the things that is definitely quite different is up here in the quick panel, and these are kind of similar. You could see right there, Samsung kind of took a page from Apple's playbook over here, but if we go ahead and add control, you'll see right here, we'll be able to grab something. Let's go ahead and put Wi-Fi. You can change different sizes of these. I don't think it's going to let me make it that way. So let's see if we can do it this way. We'll pull this. Hold on. So it's not letting me make that one wider. What about this one? You can see you could do like that. And they kind of look the same now when it comes to how you can customize those. Let's go ahead and add control down here. You can see even when adding control, look how similar that looks. It's in like the same location, and it kind of swipes down, looks the same almost. So there's not much in it to talk about there. They're kind of doing the same thing up here in the quick panel for both of these software. But the iPhone just has a little bit of a different look. It really just comes down to personal preference with the look. Now, when it comes to AI feature set, we go to Galaxy AI. Samsung's letting it be known. It's right up at the top. You do have call assist, writing assist, and more, browsing assist, and they're really doing pretty strong in this department, including weather wallpaper AI. So you can use the default location to change the wallpaper AI. We'll change it to sunny, raining, snowy, and so you can see they further expanding on here, giving you the now brief, health assist. Now you have to decide if you want to let it process data only on the device. That's up to you, and how much you want to use AI, how you feel about AI and your privacy and stuff of that sort. That is really up to you to decide. It is your phone. It is your option. Over here on the iPhone, I do like the visual intelligence feature. You hold down over here on this device. It is pretty useful. If we go over here to settings and we scroll down to the Apple Intelligence, you'll see Apple is still signifying beta. So they're definitely a little bit behind in this AI arena. The ChatGPT extension with Siri, though, is kind of useful, especially if you're just asking questions via this Siri over here. If you just hold it down, it's pretty good. And the only reason my phone keeps showing these features is because I actually had to reset settings on this phone a couple days ago. It was giving me some issues. So I reset all the settings. That's why it's kind of like showing these pop-ups like I never used this phone in my life. I just had to reset the settings. But yeah, AI overall, I just like the way it works on the Samsung. You have over here, hold down for Gemini. And Gemini is not only better, I think, with the AI, it's also getting faster with their recent updates to the Gemini 3. I mean, they're just making this thing faster and faster and more useful every day. And if you have a Samsung phone, you already have that integration with Google. So you kind of have the best of both worlds. You got the Samsung ecosystem and the Google experience all in one package. So yeah, I think the Samsung is a little bit of a smarter phone day to day for sure, and more useful with split screen multitasking. But when it comes to privacy and annoyances, I find iOS feels like you're a little bit more in your own walled garden, a little bit more closed off. Yes, it's a little bit more tightly controlled by Apple, but it feels a little bit more private to use. I feel like I'm inundated with ads a little bit more Google stuff going on here, a little bit more tracking for some reason. I just don't feel like it's quite as private as an iOS experience, although you can lock it down, change your launchers, change your apps, turn off the Google page off to the left, turn off tracking. I mean, it's a lot of setup to do that. Whereas right out of the box, I think the iPhone is a little bit more of a private experience. I do tend to prefer that. Now, with the software, the ecosystems that match up to these, I mean, we do have watches, earbuds, laptops. Which one provides more friction? I would say that's Samsung. Samsung has a little bit more friction because they're using Windows laptops with watches that are, yes, they're based on the Wear OS, but they're kind of like they're just not quite as cohesive as the way the iPad, the Apple Watch, all that stuff on the iPhone experience just still feels a little bit more tightly controlled. They are very, very close though, and I've used all of the I actually have the whole ecosystem mostly on Samsung as well. Let me know if you guys want to see an ecosystem matchup video. That would be pretty interesting. But I just find it's still easier and more seamless to connect all those Apple devices via the iPhone. So I just find that still a little bit better. When it comes to a couple apps, you can see that their calculators look a little bit different. We do have history on both on the left side. We do have, scientific calculators and stuff of that sort. When it comes to the health applications, both of them do have their own specific features in both. It really just comes down to what you prefer when it comes to the health features. Generally, though, they both are advancing year over year. Updates and bugs and stability, I gotta say that Apple updates more frequently, but Samsung has less bugs. So really, which one do you prefer? Do you want something that is more stable but doesn't get as updated as fast as the iPhone, or do you want something that maybe introduces a few more bugs but is constantly up to date all the time, very, very quickly, and it comes to everybody? That's the iOS experience right there. So going into 2026, which one is going to be the clear winner here between both of these? And I'm going to say there is no real clear winner when it comes to, just being one is just technically better, because it really is personal preference at this point. But I think overall, I like the iOS experience right now just for the ecosystem matching up. But Samsung is more fun to use. It's a more fun to use product. It has more features. It has, all the same like ecosystem stuff you would need. And it just generally never gets as boring. So iOS tends to get pretty boring rather quickly. That's to me one of its flaws. But that's usually what happens when something is this mature and this elevated. I also feel like Samsung tries to make the software look different more frequently than Apple. I think Apple kind of keeps it the same very long time. They did do some changes recently with the liquid glass, so that's definitely a big change. And this year was one of the biggest changes they did, but they tend to keep it that way for a long time. We'll see how it goes going forward. But anyway, that's my take on both of these. iOS 26, 8.5. Which one are you picking going into 2026? Which one do you think is better? Let us know down below in the comments. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.